Welcome back to Speaking of Miracles. No matter where you are or what time it is, get ready for another journey into the extraordinary and the unexplained. I'm your host, Isabella, and together we'll explore the miraculous stories that defy logic and ignite wonder. So let's dive in. Today, we're going to take a short trip and we're going to travel back to 1917 to a small village in Portugal called Fatima. In the research that we were able to do on this story, and as the story is told throughout that research, we know that everyone who lived in the village, and I mean absolutely everyone, stood outside, crowded in the same area, because they had been told by 3 young children that they would witness a miracle from the heavens on that day. So grab a cup of coffee, tea, or whatever you like, and get comfy. And let's journey together back to that incredible day. It's October 1917 in Fatima. And on that particular day in October, basically in October, it means it's getting colder outside. But on that particular day, it was really cold. There was a strange overcast in the sky, and the sun was actually nowhere to be found. All of the thousands of people that lived in this village gathered at a very specific spot, and it was outside in a field. You could hear the hum of anticipation among the crowd. Everyone in the village had been drawn to this spot, and they had been drawn to this spot because of the stories of 3 young children who also lived in the village, Lucia Santos and her cousins, Jacinta and Francisco Marto. They all claimed to have seen visions of the Virgin Mary. They had been telling their family since May of that year about these visions, and they told their family they were to spread the word throughout the village, and their family did, that a miracle was coming. The children had predicted that on this day in October, a miracle would occur. So as you can imagine, at first, no one believed them. Here are these kids saying they saw, the Virgin Mary, but they continued to tell their family that they had in fact seen visions of the Virgin Mary. She had come to them and wanted them to spread this message of something miraculous coming to the village. The kids were put under repeated questioning by family members, by outside family members. Despite the fact that they had doubt, the children never really changed their story. And you have to understand that this is a village that was founded in faith. So the villagers soon began to trust what the children were saying. For one, they never changed their story, and they had been pretty good kids up to that point. So the villagers decided to trust them. And everyone in the village prepared for that specific day. So when the day came, all of the townspeople and some outsiders, because they had heard the miracle, they huddled together in this cold, damp field, and their eyes were scanning the cloudy sky, waiting for something miraculous to happen, because the children told them that the Virgin Mary said the miracle would drift down from the heavens. So from what we gather from firsthand accounts of those that were there, it is said that around noon on that day, the clouds began to part and the sun appeared, but not like the normal sun that we would see on a good day with no clouds, but more like a silvery soft disk, quite unlike its usual bright yellow or orange self on a good day. As the sun appeared, they all glanced up and saw the sun. And some would say that it was ordinary at first, but then it began to change. First, it was that soft silvery disc. And keep in mind, there were many reporters there from the village and outside the village. And one of these reporters worked for the Catholic newspaper in the village. And so he did an article, and this reporter described the sun on that day as being surrounded by a scarlet flame. Sometimes this flame would glow with a halo of yellow and deep purple. It was moving very fast across the sky, and he described it as being both mesmerizing and somewhat scary at the same time. And kind of to top that off, there were moments when the sun seemed to break free from the sky and start plunging towards the earth, in fact, right where they were. And when it did this, There were those that reported that the heat was just overwhelming in those moments when it came down and plunged toward the earth. The reporter sort of summed up his article by saying that it felt like the sun was behaving as if it was alive because it was dancing and it was darting about in the sky. This description seemed to be validated by another reporter who was also there, but worked for a different newspaper. He also lived in the village, and the newspaper was called The Lisbon. This reporter also described the sun's disk as spinning around frantically, quickly, and it created that feeling that it was falling towards the earth very, very rapidly. The reporter also noted how the local townspeople were reacting to what was happening, what they were seeing in the sky. So you had people that were crying, you had people that were praying, you had some people that were even screaming, thinking that the end of the world was going to happen right around them. So the reporter really described it more as an emotional and spiritual experience instead of the visual for all those who were actually there witnessing the event. But it gets even more interesting because there was a professor, Dr. Jose Garrett. He was a faculty member at the Sciences of Cumbria. He also witnessed the event, but unlike the local reporters' accounts, as you might expect, he looked at it through more of a detailed scientific perspective. So first, he noted how the sun appeared as a clear disk and it had a sharp edge. The light from the sun was very intense, but people were staring at it. And no one during or after ever reported any harm to their eyes. And we know you can't stare at the sun without having real physical ramifications. He also noted there were colors in the sky that were changing dramatically. So everything took on an amethyst hue. And when he looked around at the people's faces during this, he noticed that they looked jaundiced or yellow under that strange light. So it was as if the entire world, according to him, had been transformed into some surreal painting, literally like a painting. Now, these are a few of the adult accounts of what was happening, but imagine being a child during this event. So Reverend Joachim Lourenco, he was just a boy at the time, and he was also there to witness the event. So he described seeing the sun turn into a ball of snow, which kind of makes sense from a child's view because it's the light, right? Spinning and zigzagging towards the earth. Obviously, he was scared when he noticed it sort of drop down towards the ground, and he ran to hide among the crowd. And so he didn't look at it anymore. So what was really happening that day? Was it divine intervention, or was it something that can be explained scientifically, or perhaps even psychologically? There have been many scientists and skeptics who have tried to explain what was happening on that day using natural phenomena. There's it's a really popular theory that suggests that what people were actually seeing could have been what they call a sundog. Well, what's a sundog? It is an atmospheric optical illusion that's caused by the sunlight refracting through ice crystals in the atmosphere. And remember, it was October, and in this region, October can be rather cold. However, there's something else you should keep in mind. Despite the fact that it's a popular theory, sundogs are usually stationary and they don't move in the erratic way that the witnesses described the sun was moving. And that was pretty much consistent throughout many of the firsthand accounts. So this explanation doesn't seem quite plausible. There are some scientists and skeptics who say that there actually is a really easy explanation. Some researchers believe that intense psychological factors at play could have created a collective visual experience. So not the sundog, but more of a collective visual experience. And what does that mean? Well, you have to remember that everyone in the village was there. So we have thousands of people gathered in one area, even more than that, because we have people coming from outside the area. And they're all there, and they're all staring up at the sky, and they have all this anticipation and hope that they're going to be a part or witnessing a miracle that has been spoken into existence by these three kids through the visions of the Virgin Mary. Experts believe that prolonged staring can cause what they call retinal fatigue, and this will create illusions of movement. So, what is that? Essentially, you will see objects move that are not really moving. So, you're looking at something stationary, but your eyes are making it move. But combine this with the power of suggestion in a heightened emotional state, and you get a recipe for what these experts call collective extraordinary experience, or in this case, a miracle. Today, the place where everyone gathered to witness this miracle in 1917 is known as Cova da Iria. It is part of the sanctuary of Our Lady of Fatima, and it is a major pilgrimage site for Catholics worldwide. The sanctuary includes the Chapel of Apparitions, and it's built at that exact location where the kids were said to see the visions and where they occurred. Now, despite the scientific explanations I talked about, the Catholic Church officially recognized this event as a miracle in 1930. This recognition really solidified the importance of Fatima in the religious world. And today, because of that, it's a major pilgrimage site. There are millions of people that visit this shrine that has actually been built near the site. In fact, in 2017, Pope Francis even approved the recognition of a miracle involving 2 of the children. I don't know why 3 weren't included. There was no information on that, but even the 2, it paves the way for their possible sainthood. So whether you lean towards believing in the divine or you find comfort in scientific reasoning, the miracle of the sun, as they call it, remains a profound and fascinating event. And it challenges our understanding of reality. And it really does highlight the power of collective belief and the human desire for connection with divine. I mean, you had the whole town, village out there, and plus people from outside. So just imagine standing in that field. You're surrounded by thousands of others. Everyone's looking up, gazing at the sky with a mixture of hope and anticipation. Maybe some are fearful and some have awe. But the sun, as we know it, is usually a pretty steady presence in our lives. It becomes a symbol of something greater, a reminder that there are still mysteries in this world that we cannot fully explain. And this host thinks that's the beauty of miracles, isn't it? They make us pause, they make us reflect, and sometimes even believe in the impossible. They remind us that our world is filled with wonders, both seen and unseen. So thank you for joining me on this journey back in time. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review at speakingofmiracles.org, and share it with your friends. Whether you come as a believer, a skeptic, or you're simply a curious soul, I hope today's episode inspires you to embrace the mysteries that go beyond belief. Who knows what other miracles we might uncover together? Until next time, keep believing in the extraordinary. I'm your host, Isabella, and this is Speaking of Miracles.